I think consciousness and having a level of consciousness is being influenced by your own choice and intuition. And not being conscious is simply listening to what everybody else says our kids should do. Our kids should go to private school. They should have tutors. They should become
honey, I got told the school was really good. Let's take Ocean.
Yeah, let's go to this new school. Oh yeah, what should Ocean be when she, oh my god, she's
if everybody else thinks it,
she
then
plays
that's
music.
the right thing to do.
No, right? Let's get it to play music.
Yeah.
Let's get it to be an app developer, because I think that's gonna be
off.
good in 20 years. That's a useful
She'll
skill.
make heaps of money.
Maybe a cyber hacker, something to do with online. This is where
maybe we'll get her into deep fakes and she can start creating people.
Bitcoin funnels. And so the difference between when Keri, you mentioned being conscious, is having the awareness and the intuition to go with what simply is at the time, and going with what you want and what's going to make you happy, what's going to make you fulfilled, and what's going to do what you want to do, because ultimately that's all that matters for you, versus being unconscious, which is completely oblivious to the fact that you're conditioning or you're listening to other people. And as soon as you mentioned that, I started to realize, oh my gosh, like, where am I unaware, or where have I listened to other people so much so that I haven't trusted my own instincts? I think that's a scary thing, to trust your own instincts, to go, because I went through the education system.
Do you remember when you cut?
What? Let me explain you hold that in.
Wait, when you cut Ocean's hair last week?
Yeah. Oh, right. So Keri's dad made a remark and said, Ocean's hair so long, when can we cut it? Right? She needs a haircut. It's annoying her. Ocean's dad thinks that it's annoying her, and Ocean's fine with it. But your dad's saying it's annoying. And so that night in the bathtub, I was like, yeah. I literally, this was so unconscious of me, because I don't care. I'm like, Ocean looks great. She's fine. In the bathtub, she's just there jumping up and down, doing her usual thing. I grab some scissors. She's like, what are you doing? And then I'm like, Ocean, turn around a bit. She's like, no. And then I take a little bit from her and I'm like, nah, this is way too dangerous. I'm pointing a pair of scissors at her and she wants to fight against me. But that's actions of something being so unconscious and accepting something because somebody else told me, and not actually consciously thinking about it. Why are you laughing so much? I thought you were going to say something like, I thought she was going to bring back something from my past, and I was like, oh, what did I do?
No, because it was just so spur of the moment, and you came out and you were like, I just tried to cut.
Yeah. And you were
Ocean's hair, and I was like, why?
And I had no idea
like,
at all.
Isn't it too long? I need to cut her hair.
Yeah. We do these weird things.
Yeah.
We listen to people and we do these things, and we don't actually ask ourselves, we're not conscious about it. We're not present about it. And so I think going back to that, you and I went through a period of time where we even questioned each other's growth. Like I went through a period of time a couple of years ago where I was like, I'm growing. Is she going to grow with me? Or is she going to move away from, like, I was growing because I was learning so much in business, and I had my little network of other people that I would talk to, and I would pull you along to Boise and Idaho and LA and all of my retreats. And I'm like trying to be everywhere. And my fear was
that to me was actually growing together. And that was the point that I think I'm grateful for. And when I look at the themes across the group, I then come back to our integration.
Right.
And how you genuinely integrated me into the business.
Yeah.
And that also takes a lot of
openness from you.
Openness, yeah,
correct.
Exactly. Business isn't my thing.
Like a couple of years ago, I sat down with you at a restaurant, vegan restaurant. I sat down, we're having dinner, and I'm like, Keri, if I die, I just want to know that you can look after yourself. So I've got these skills inside of my mind. I've got amazing skills that I need to teach to you.
A few years ago. It was like 5 years ago.
5 years ago?
Yeah, we just started dating.
Okay, we've been together for 6 years. So we dated for a year.
Yeah.
We're sitting down and we're getting pretty serious. And I was like, Keri, listen up. I need to teach you these skills. I've got a legacy to carry on, and if we're going to have a family and I want to give them to you because they're valuable, I need to teach you about
you're
marketing.
You're going to carry on my
sales.
legacy.
You're gonna did I say you're going to carry on
yeah,
my legacy?
you were literally like, you're going to carry on my legacy.
Yeah,
and then I looked at him. He was training men and fat loss at the time. And I looked at him and I was like, I was like, I don't want to carry on your legacy. I'm not training these men and fat loss.
Hello, it's Keri from PB City. How are you all doing, fellas? But I looked at it and I was so serious, and I was like, Keri, you gotta learn this. You gotta learn this. Trust me. These are good skills. And I think at the time I had learnt a skill that empowered me so much. Like I'd gone from living such an unconscious life to going to uni, finishing my physio degree, being a physio, not being a physio, then going, what the do I do with my life? To then going, oh my God, like I need to learn how to market and sell and advertise. Oh shit. And then I need to know how to build a company and hire people and lead them and manage them and then build systems and think about systems and then innovate. Oh and then I need to know about taxes. Oh my God, Keri, all these skills, I need you to know them too, just in case something happens to me. I was legit like, that was my whole plan from the very get-go. I was like, okay, we're going to be partners together. You're going to be like my best COO. You know, so I think that was the very first time, and as soon as you got upset at me, I was like,
on the flip side of that, I wanted to travel the world.
Yes.
Long periods of time, for a long period of time, 6 months at a time. And I had those all in my plan, and I spoke them to you, and you were like, you can't travel without me.
Yeah.
And then that kind of was at a standstill for us because these were my dreams that I wanted to fulfill.
Yep.
And I was willing to do it, to be together but be apart, long distance thing.
I remember.
I remember I was saying, I think we should both grow. And if we grow apart, then we grow apart. Like,
No. We were sitting in my dad's house that I rented from him. I was sitting there and she was like, I'm going to go travel the world and it's okay if you don't come. You do your stuff and you get your stories. I'll do my stuff and then we can come back and talk about them. Like,
yeah, exactly.
That's not how this works, woman.
Yeah, so that's genuinely like, it was kind of like, it is what it is. And I want to grow and I want you to grow as well.
Yeah.
And I know that traveling isn't on the cards for you.
100%. I was the clingy type. I was like, I want you by my side.
Yeah, but it's like written in stone for me that I want to do these travels.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of like at this really stalemate.
It was stalemate. You and I met and we
ended up getting married, buying a house. Like, by the way, like all that time, I think those two key moments where I didn't want to carry on your legacy. Yep. You didn't want to come traveling with me. That left us at the stalemate point of the game of life, the chess game of life for years.
And as you get to know Keri and I, and maybe 6 years ago, you're like, wow, they're so different. How are they even dating?
Yeah.
Because you're a traveler, I want to get rich, right? Like that was, I want to be hot, I want to have a good body, I want to get rich. That's all I cared about back then. You want to travel the world.
Yeah.
You didn't care about
I also wanted to get hot.
You didn't care about being looked after. You were just like, I can look after myself.
Yeah.
If I can't look after myself, my dad will look after me. Like that was your thought.
Yeah, probably
that's subconsciously your thought that I see at the back of your mind. And like I've never even had to worry about being looked. I'm like, my whole life I was told that my sisters need to be looked after by a man, and therefore I must be the man that looks after my sisters. Yeah. So when you've got 4 sisters, I'm growing up with 4 sisters. My parents are like, you can't date that guy. Like
he can't look after you.
He can't look after you. Who is that dropkick? Like, no, you got to find a doctor and he's going to make a lot of money. He's got to be able to look after you. If you're a dentist, you marry someone higher than you. If you're a queen, you marry a king. And I was like, oh my God, I got to be a king. Otherwise I'll get a pawn to marry, right? So inside of my mind, I'm like, how do I build this king status? I'm like, all right, I gotta look good now because I gotta be handsome. Nobody wants an ugly fella, fat fella over here, right? To get myself in shape. And then I become a physio because apparently that's what is decent. When you don't become a doctor, you become a physio. I didn't even know what they did. I didn't know how miserable they got paid. And then I was just like, oh, I'm not touching people's feet in like a little cubicle, looking at ankles and it's just, it's not for me. It's a great profession, not for me. So we came together with completely different values and I was so afraid that you wouldn't grow with me. But I was so like, that didn't even cross my mind. I'm like, for sure she wants what I want because what I want's awesome. Because what I want was what my parents had always told my sisters what they wanted, and therefore I am the epitome of this king. She should want this.
Yeah.
So I'm coming in with this conversation. I'm going, your mum likes me. Your dad likes me. This is amazing, right? Because your mum's like, oh my God, like, yeah, it's handsome. It's a good looking chap. And can he look after you?
No, she was like, do you love him?
Okay, great. Well, your mum's not the typical Asian mum then.
She isn't.
Because the typical Asian mum that I've been encountering has been, what does he do for a living? Yeah. Does he make a lot of money? Oh, he's pretty good looking. Done. Oh, is he Catholic? It's not Catholic. Oh, will he convert to Buddhism? Like it's a real Asian thing. And so that's the conditioning. Those were the requirements. I had met all those requirements. I'm like, well, what do you mean you want to travel? That wasn't part of the requirement. If that had been part of the criteria, I would have traveled, but it wasn't.
Yeah. So I think much of our relationship was growing apart, even though we were growing in the sense of buying a house together, getting married.
Yeah, we did all of that.
Upgrading a house.
I thought that's what she wanted.
We did a lot of growing externally, but internally, our relationship suffered a lot behind our characters.
Were you ever afraid that I wasn't going to grow? Like into that, because you saw me work so hard. I just kept buying more things.
I was afraid that you would keep growing in the way that you were growing.
Okay, and how was I growing?
Into Trump. Is the way that I would describe it. Just as a playful label to that man.
Yeah.
But he was very egotistical.
Okay. I still am.
Yes. But
I think I'm more understanding.
Yes, but you have a level of empathy to you now. That part of you that didn't exist before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was really afraid that trajectory was going to grow in that way. And
so I kept putting us under more pressure, financial pressure, by just upgrading our houses, literally. So we bought a house, a nice house, $1.5 million.
Didn't have a garage.
Right?
That was a nice comment house. That his family...
But my dad made this comment to me. He said, Lynn, your house doesn't have a garage. Your house, and so my family are great. They're great people. When I would meet up with them, they'd always find flaws. They're always like, "Oh, Lynn, you just work too hard. Oh, Lynn, you're just not good enough." Like there was always this flaw fundamentally growing up, right? And so the first remark that I got, and it was like, "Oh, your house is great, but you live next to flats," and because we live next to a flat, and living next to a flat isn't great because you're living next to a whole bunch of people. And then I was like to Keri, we live next to flats, and she's like, "So what?" And I'm like, do you not know? Lynn, you don't have a garage. You don't have a garage. And I was like, yeah, you're right. That makes sense, right? And then like 6 months later, there's the castle on the hill, which is the house in the northern suburbs of Melbourne. It's kind of like the best house in the north.
It was our neighbour's house. It was 2 houses down, and it had 8 garage spaces.
Yeah, it had a huge garage.
So he bought it basically and was like, I have 8 car spaces now.
And I was like, yeah, I bought this house. Do you even like it? She's like, because initially you walked in, and Keri's the type to just like everything. She likes everything, right? And I can't read. She's like, oh my God, I like this. This is kind of like Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
And that's not a good thing. Have you ever watched Alice in Wonderland? If you live in a house in Alice in Wonderland, it's not a good house. True. You want to live in like an LA luxury penthouse house. This is not that house.
I feel like I'm in Malibu.
Right?
Yeah.
She was like, I feel like I'm in Alice in Wonderland. I feel like a princess. And I'm like, done. I'm like, done. I put in an offer. And this house had been on the market for quite some time. It couldn't sell. And then we ended up getting it. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to need to make more money. So I started working more. It was just my drive, right? Just to work more. And then I'm just like to my dad, so what do you, I didn't say it because it's disrespectful. But I was like, so like, what's wrong with this house now? And I think at that point, when he was like, nothing, this is the house you got to keep forever, my son. Right? That's his words. This is the house you keep here forever. You give to and like he would say something like that. At that point, I was like, oh, fuck. Like I didn't feel good.
Empty?
I felt dirty. Like just going, is this the feeling? Like, is this what I get for achieving every thing at 27 that you ever set out? Is this what I get for taking over all of my siblings? Because now I've got a bigger house than all of them together, as the last child. And not to say that my siblings are successful. They are successful human beings. They're not successful. I just somehow hacked the system and outworked them with a tremendous amount of pressure from debt. And then I worked my way up.